Welcome back, guys. So it is Super NT time from Analogue. Love the way they packaged this. Got me some bonus packing materials that I could reuse. What? So today we're going to be taking a look at this, unboxing it, talking about the pros and cons, issues that I found. Do I love it? Do I hate it? Am I mixed? Well, we'll find out. But first, let's go ahead and unbox this bad boy. So every unit does come with this black envelope. I'm pretty sure I know what's in here, but let's go ahead and open her up and take a peek inside. So what do we got here? First thing that we get, pretty interesting, is the Super Turrican Director's Cut box for the non-existent cartridge. This game is built in, but it is kind of cool. You know, some collectors might like this. I'm not 100% what I'm going to do with it, but hey, it is very reminiscent of an original Super Nintendo box. You got the little Super NT down there, licensed by Analogue, Factor 5. Pretty awesome stuff. Yeah, a little bonus, I guess, you know, that's kind of neat. So now let's go ahead and open this guy up. Kind of tough plastic on there, not your typical stretchy cellophane type plastic. This is, I don't know what you would call it, but hey, let's open her up, peep this out. Very, very exciting stuff. So here is the box. Pretty sweet. It does tell you what is included in the box. You know, 1080p FPGA system, gets your Super NT, Super Turrican Director's Cut, Super Turrican 2, HDMI cable, USB, and power supply for North America and Japan. Back of the box, there's nothing. On the side of the box, it does tell you which color you got, and I did get the transparent. And here she is. My God. This box did have some heft to it, and I've been hearing that the system is pretty hefty, and my God, for how small this thing is, it is very chunky and heavy. I mean, not chunky, but it's a heavy one for sure. And I'm kind of noticing some weirdness here that I noticed with the controller, and we're going to take a real close look at that in a moment here. But it does look like on the top of the system for the transparent that there is an extra layer of that PVC plastic material. I'm not sure what you would call it, but the same material that is affixed to the top of the clear controller. So you can kind of see that here. We will be doing a extreme close-up so you can kind of see what I'm trying to point out here. And then on the back, or the bottom, I guess you would say, is this nice like rubber material. Has the Analogue logo on there, tells you it was made in China, designed in the US. Pretty nice stuff. You do have an SD card slot for your firmware updates, which there is a day one update for the system that you might want to do. Pretty easy. I did update mine. HDMI and your power slot. And here is the cartridge slot. I like the flaps. They feel pretty good. They're not flimsy or cheap, so that's a definite plus. Let's go ahead and take a peek what else is in the box. You do get a little kind of pamphlet manual thing. You know, just welcome to the system. Welcome to Analogue. This is what's up. Super Turrican kind of explains some stuff there. Pretty interesting. You know, this system really could have used a big fat boy manual to explain a lot of the features, but I guess that's what we got the internet for, right? Save a tree. And then underneath here, there's nothing else inside the box other than this little box. And inside the little box, we do get what we need to hook it up. HDMI cable, nice. Does have the Analogue branding on there. I love that. Like it when they brand the cables instead of just using, you know, bulk generic cables. Pretty cool stuff when they have it branded. That way you can make sure you're keeping the cables to that system. Here's your little power brick. And yes, the power brick does have the Analogue logo on there as well. It's just kind of really hard to see, but it is on there, so that's pretty cool. Nice lengthy power cable, should be plenty. And then let's take a peek at the HDMI. I believe the HDMI cable, if I would give a good guess, I think it's about 3 feet. And after stretching her out, yeah, I definitely would say about 3 feet. That's good enough for me. As long as it's not a foot, that would suck. But here we go, completely out of the box, ready to go. You can use the 8BitDo Retro Set controllers. They do have matching colors for each version of the system that they put out. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. But the retro receivers, you can go ahead and plug 2 in, and it does feel nice plugging this in. It's not overly tight or loose. A lot of times with the cheap clone systems, the controller ports are either tight or really loose, and this just feels right. So today we're going to test out a Super FX game, Star Fox 2 reproduction made with an actual board. We're going to try out Retrobit's Joe and Mac. Definitely peep that out, see how that works. And then we will be peeping out Mega Man X3 or Rockman X3. I'm a cheap mofo with that CX4 chip. See how that works. A repro I made of Turtles in Time, a Retro Circuits repro, and the SD2 SNES. And then Unholy Night. Oh, hell no. Forget that noise. You are not gracing this console. You are not being inserted into this. So now, let's take a close-up as to what I was talking about as far as the PVC plastic. So if you look closely on this controller, this one actually looks nicer than the first one that I got. But you can see some imperfections with the adhesive where there's a little bit of bubbling, a lot more on the left side here. Little bubbles and just, unevenness in a sense. Not crazy, but I'm surprised to see that it's also on the system. They used another layer of plastic, and I guess it's because of the mold that they use to make the shells for these systems. That way they can change the colors for each one for that layer. But on the clear one, you're getting the same thing as the controller. You're getting that weird adhesive look, which is part of the reason that it's more frosted than clear. The spots that don't have that adhesive don't look that bad, but you can see where there's spots where it's not stuck all the way down because there's like an indentation or where a screw would be. And it's kind of, it's a little annoying seeing that, Pay good money for this. A lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't matter what it looks like. But, some people care. The other thing that I have noticed is putting in cartridges of any kind. They are very wobbly and loose. They don't sit in there in the sense that they're tight fit. But as you see here, it doesn't matter. Ntsc, their Super Nintendo or Super Famicom cartridges, same thing. But the cartridge slot, the actual pins are held onto very nicely. So it's just more of the space in between the cartridge. But with that said, let's go ahead and peep out some games and test this out and talk about it. Okay guys, so here we go. We got the system ready to go. We've got our matching controller plugged in, which I'm actually going to speak about in a second here. Because as you can see, my blue light is solid, but nothing works. This is the second controller that I got from them, second retro receiver. And as you can see, the retro receiver light is solid. It's not blinking, showing that it is connected. My first one I received, I had an issue with. I tried it on other systems and it didn't work, and then I peeled the sticker off just to check things out. Started a return on it. It was what it was. I just thought I had one defective one. This one I did not start using until I got the Super NT. Synced it up, everything's solid, but my buttons don't work. Nothing works. I've tried syncing other controllers to it, doesn't work. Tried using the return because I haven't sent it back yet. Tried redoing that one. This one and the retro receiver, rolled back the firmware, brought it back up, all that good stuff. Messed around, a lot of frustrations, and nothing. So I don't know if it's something I did. I'm not trying to beat nobody up over it, but I'm pretty annoyed. My controller doesn't work, but that's okay. I got another one coming my way, which is going to be the third controller. So hopefully there's no issue with it. But one thing of note to point out is that these retro receivers, It does kind of warn you in the little paper that the box that this comes in. It says do not plug this in. Plug it in before you power the system on. That is something you do need to make sure you do. If you pull this out and then put it back in or change a different one, your system will just shut off. The Super NT will shut off. The light will still be on, but your display will disappear. If you're playing a game, it just turns off. So I don't know what kind of damage that could possibly cause, but don't do it. I just did that before I started this video, and that's how I found out. But that's not what I did to screw this up, so I have no idea. But if you have an idea, let me know. And, you know, like I said, I've already done the rollback forward, resync, all that kind of stuff, and nothing. So it is what it is. We're going to go ahead and stick with original Super Nintendo controllers. So we're going to briefly go through some of these menu options real quick. And with original Super Nintendo controllers, just like an original Super Nintendo, you do not have to worry about plugging in, unplugging and replugging, putting a different controller in. It will not crash your system. Just those retro receivers will. So be careful. So as you see, now that I have it plugged in, it is working just fine. So several options we have here. You can run your cartridge, play the included game Super Turrican Director's Cut or Super Turrican 2, and then we do have settings options. So going into settings options, we'll just go in order, keep it simple. Video, you do have resolution, screen size, scalers. So you do have high quality 2x, 3x, 4x, scale 2 and 3x, and then X-ray. X-ray is kind of neat. I'll show that once we get into a game. And then you do have interpolation, disable and enable options there. So I'm just going to play these games with the default settings. I don't really feel the need to change things up, but hey, it is there. We do have scan lines as well. No scan lines, normal, hybrid, and then you do have a gamma boost option and also your scan line depth. Now, for my testing, scan lines look like crap when you're running your games on 1080p, no matter how you tweak things out. For me, anyway. I've seen other people mention this as well. 720p is what you want to put it to so that scaling and resolution will work with the scan lines better and looks nicer. So just keep that of note. 1080p looks like junk. 720 is where you want to mess around with that. For me, I'm not even going to bother with scan lines. Some people swear by them, some people don't. For me, playing my original cartridges, I don't want the scan lines on my TV. If I'm playing, emulating, then that's something I play around with. Then you do have an advanced mode, check mark that. And you do have a few more options. You can change width and height, cropping. You have buffer mode and extra features. In your extra features, you do have a 64 sprite tile mode. More sprites can be shown at one time. I think that may be something that helps with the flicker. So, you get slowdown and then things kind of flicker in your old school games. This doesn't really fix that, but it'll make it like the sprites are still there, is what I believe this option is. But the slowdown will still be there. No matter what, this being an FPGA-based system, it's doing damn near close to what an original system would do, and it's not going to improve performance on these games. It's just going to make them look better and sound nicer compared to cheap clone systems. Then you also have a mode 5 and 6 interlace disable or enable option. Disables interlace except for high-res modes. Pseudo high-res blending is a very interesting one. We talked about this before. One of the examples was one of the Kirby games has these clouds in it. And if you're playing in HD or you're even emulating the game, they look like lines. It's still in the shape of a cloud, but they're like lines because of the CRT blending. On a CRT TV, these developers and artists, the way they did the artwork was the way they knew it would be displayed. So in a CRT, those clouds would be kind of, solid but transparent, that kind of thing, an opaque look. In HD TVs and emulating, they just look like lines because that's the way the artist made them, but the CRT blended those pixels. So that's what this does. Pseudo high-res blending blends it, makes it look how it would look on a CRT TV. So that is a definite cool option. I'm leaving that enabled. I believe it is enabled by default. And then you do have your buffer mode. Buffer mode, fully buffered, you're going to have the original speed, no tearing, but more lag. Zero delay, the system speed is adjusted to provide zero lag outputs. But you can possibly have some tearing. From my testing, everything has looked beautiful and performed great. Single buffer, you may have some tearing, but lower lag and original speeds. So you have those options. Zero delay is the default. So unchecking advanced mode, let's go ahead and get back out of that. We touched on all that. Now we go to audio. You have a decibel output cut, -3 decibels. You can turn that on or off. Cartridge audio enable. What that is going to be is for your Super Game Boy. The Super Game Boy is essentially a cartridge with a Game Boy built into it, just minus the screen and buttons, right? So it does have its own sound chip in here, and in order for the game to output its sound and music and whatnot, it needs to use the sound processors in this, not what the actual system is using. So with this, the way this system is designed, you do need to enable that if you're playing Super Game Boy to get the actual audio. So just wanted to point that out. And then I guess you can swap the left and right channel audio, and you can adjust the volume for the audio coming from the cartridge. So definitely a nice option there. We'll test that out at some point and see what to do. But I think when you have that cartridge audio enabled and you're playing Super Game Boy, it is pretty loud, so you may want to adjust that down. Now moving forward, going to system, menu options. So in menu options, you can change the skin, which is going to be this, like, this little cartridge here. If we go to classic, it's going to look like the North American cartridges. SF, the menus and color and everything's going to change to, Super Famicom PAL region with the colored buttons, all that kind of good stuff. So just, little cosmetic things. Highlight style, you can change the this highlight. So it's just kind of highlighting our options with this purple solid block. So, or flashing anyway. If we go to solid, it just stays solid, doesn't flash. If you go to swipe, it just kind of swipes. Flash was what we had. It just kind of flashes real quick. Rolling, kind of just rolls, looking nice. Throb, pulses. Should have just said pulse. I don't know why I said throb, but all right. So we have those options. Pretty cool stuff. Highlight color, you can just change, the color of the highlight. Several different options. I'm just going to leave it light purple. You can change the font. Alternate font, you can turn that on. Just changes to a more like pixel looking style, or you can just leave it to the default, and then uppercase only or lowercase. Just kind of changes, the uppercase to smaller. I don't know. Just little options to kind of customize it the way you want. Menu bounce. Menu bounce is not enabled by default. If we go back, you see, it just kind of falls back. Going back into menu options, if you have menu bounce enabled, you go back, it just kind of like boing, like, whatever. It just kind of has a little bounce to it. Dim in-game menu, dim game in menu. It's kind of, when you read that, you're like, wait, what does that mean? Pretty much it's just dimming, kind of putting a layer over the game in the background when you have this menu up. If you have it on the games that full brightness, if you dim it, it just kind of dims it so you can focus more on the menu options. Controller and hotkeys. So you could reset your hotkeys. Menu hotkey is defaulted to down. Yes, down and select. So if you're in a game and you press down and select, it'll bring up the menu. Reset is defaulted to up and select, so that will just reset your game. Pretty good stuff. Confirm and cancel. So you see in the bottom corner there, confirm and cancel. The default is confirm is Y and B is cancel. For me, I'm always accustomed to A being confirmed, so I did change that. So you just select it, and then you pick whatever button you want to be confirmed. Pretty good stuff. Startup options is another important one. So once you start the system up, by default, you'll get the title sequence, the Phil Fish little title sequence, and then it goes to this menu. Now you can have it where it goes through the title sequence, the analog, Phil Fish sequence, and then goes directly to the cartridge you have plugged in. Or you can go where it boots up straight to the menu. Or old school style, boots direct to the cartridge. You got no menu, no title screen. So those are some cool options. I'm sure the little Phil Fish title screen animations are cool, but I'm sure they could get old over time. But hey, we're given options, so I definitely appreciate that. Hardware, change it between Ntsc and Pal. Launch system timing, slightly adjust cartridge timing to simulate early systems for Game Genie. I believe those options were changed and added with the firmware update. There is a day one firmware update for the system, which I've already done. And then LED options, you can just change the LED on the front system. You can change the brightness, different sequences. You can do a custom pattern, which you do have to have loaded up on your SD card and insert it in there. Don't know too much about that, but hey, it is an option. What else? And that's pretty much it. You go to About, it just kind of gives you some information, licensing, and the special thanks. Save and clear settings. So if you change your hotkeys and your buttons and all that, you do need to save them. If you don't save them, you turn the system off, power it back on, everything's going to be reset to default. So any options you change, you do want to make sure you save if you want to keep those options set the way you've done them. So one thing I want to show you, I do have a few carts I want to test. So the first cart, just to get it out of the way, I'm going to show you Star Fox 2. I have an issue with this one. So let's go ahead and run that cart. My issue, boom. This game is designed only to play with a normal controller. I don't know what's up with that, but it does not work. So that is pretty unfortunate that it does that. No idea why. That cartridge works on every other system, original hardware, clone systems, the Superboy, all that kind of stuff. I don't know why it wants to do that. So now let's go ahead and change back over to Star Fox 1. Here we go. Looking good, sounding good. You know, Star Fox 1 is a great game. Look at those, like the pixels, everything just looks so nice. Not going to increase performance of Star Fox, still going to be kind of a slower game, but it's definitely a cool one. And it really does look nice on the system. So I just want to kind of highlight these games. Don't really want to jump into them. We will be playing a little more in the near future on specific games. But for now, we see Super FX Games works, other than Star Fox 2, which Star Fox 2 is a repro made from an actual Super FX game. Like I said, it works and everything else, but does not work here. So let's go ahead and change the game. Pop in Rockman X3. So here we go. Rockman X3 boots up just fine. It is that CX4 chip, special chip. This system has no issue with special chips whatsoever. Plays them all, DSP, the CX4, all that good stuff. Still bothered that Star Fox 2 does not work, but hopefully, I don't believe it's an issue with my cartridge. Maybe there's something they can update with the firmware on the system if other people discover having the same issue. I'm using original controllers, so I don't know what the deal with that is, but hey, yeah, it is what it is. You win some, you lose some, I guess. I can still play it, just not on this system at the moment. Mega Man booting up, sounding great, looking great, sharp. I'm really impressed, to be honest, with the way these games look. Right in front of my face, they look amazing. On my computer monitor, my recording, they look great, but in person, it just blows me away. I don't think any of these videos can really do these justice. My previous comparison video, that I just uploaded earlier today, you could really see the difference, and it is amazing. So definitely digging this so far. So this is a Super Famicom game, plays Super Famicom CX4 chip games perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and swap it out for something else. Next up, the Joe and Mac Ultra Caveman Collection from Retrobit. So let's see what to do with that. Run cartridge. Booting up just fine, and from the what I've seen with interviews and And Kevtris, you know, he was the one who worked on the board here. A lot of people are worried about certain, you know, repro carts and things with that, with the voltage. I've seen him state that with the Super NT, it's not going to matter. You're going to be able to play any cartridges, any voltage, doesn't matter. You will have no issue. So definitely cool, you know, so you don't have to worry about any of these repros that are not under the correct voltage for the original Super Nintendo. There's been a lot of controversy about that. Certain companies, they guarantee they make their repros with the correct voltage, like Retro Circuits does. We're going to test this out in a moment. This is a Multicart. So let's just see how this, you know, loads up just fine. Looks beautiful, sounds great. Not seeing any issues so far. I did test this quite a bit before I did this video. Oh, spoke too soon. The game crashed on me. Very strange. So Joe and Mac Ultimate Caveman Collection, is that a no-go? I just reset the game and nothing. Let me power off and power back on. That's really disappointing, but hey. Let's try that one more time. I have not had an issue with this cart. I have played the crap out of it in the past. Let's go ahead and let's put it to just cartridge direct so I can save some time here. There we go. It's booting up just fine. I believe we selected Congo's Caper, so let's select that again and see if we have an issue. Huh. Loading up. Just get in the game, see if it does that again. I mean, it could have been a coincidence, but I have a feeling it's not. Some other people have had issues with this cart on other systems. Okay. Joe and Mac Ultimate Caveman Collection from Retrobit? Nope. Next up, we've got the Sunset Riders and Wild Guns Multicart from Retro Circuits. Very high quality repro carts and multicarts that they do. So let's go ahead and select the game, Wild Guns. We'll check out Sunset Riders real quick. Definitely love these carts from these guys. One player. Definitely a little disappointed with some of the compatibility so far. Not 100% with that Star Fox 2 or Joe and Mac, but that is a bit disappointing because I actually have been playing those quite a bit lately. Hopefully with this being firmware updatable, you know, if it was just a one-off issue that I'm having, okay, but if more people have the same issue, hopefully a firmware update will be made. So the game looks great. Everything's playing fine. It hasn't crashed right away, which I didn't expect. You know, Retro Circuits really does top quality work. So next up, let's go ahead and skip to the SD2 SNES. So here we go, the SD2 SNES. Took me a couple tries to get it to power on or boot up. For some reason, it didn't want to come up first couple tries, but I don't know, it works now. So here we go. Let me see, what do we got in here? So we're in this menu screen, definitely cool. Let's go to an MSU1 game and see if Chrono Trigger works. So here we go, Chrono Trigger MSU1 version. So this does have the enhanced audio and full motion video. The one thing I do want to point out is you must have that cartridge audio enabled for your MSU1 games if you're going to be playing them off of the SD2 SNES. So I'm just going to let this play and just kind of talk about my feelings on this system. So this cost me $189 or $190 plus $23 shipping. So it was $213. I went back and checked what I paid because I heard people saying they paid like $40 shipping. I'm super excited to have it. I'm really impressed with the video and audio quality and all the options that we have. I will not be playing with many of those options, but it is cool to have them. Disappointments. Right now, I'm kind of bothered that my Star Fox 2 doesn't work, even though it works on every other system I have. I'm annoyed that Joe and Mac crashes, but it's also an issue that I've heard other people have. But I have played through Congo's Caper on that cartridge, on other systems, on the Super Retro Trio. No issue, no crashing. The game played just fine. So that's disappointing. The other thing that is bothering me a little bit is this transparent, clear, whatever version of the system. It doesn't look horrible. Some people have already knocked me, like, who cares about the aesthetics? A lot of people care about the aesthetics. People buy things and they want it to look nice. If this thing looked like a big turd, like a big smelly turd, and it played your games in high def, would you really want that? I mean, it doesn't look horrible, but there are those little imperfections because of that PVC overlay. I understand what they did and why they did it, because they probably didn't want to make extra molds for the systems, but the system looks just like the 8BitDo controller with that, I call it a sticker. People are like, no, it's PVC with adhesive. Well, it's still a sticker to me. It's adhering to something, so there's an adhesive and it's sticking to it. The system has that. All the other systems have that as well. 8BitDo has said all their controllers have always had that. But with this clear, it's just really apparent with those imperfections. And you can see the adhesive and the waviness and the bubbles and stuff like that. And it's the same with the system. I'm kind of disappointed with the looks of mine, but it does its job minus those issues I'm having. The two cartridges, none of my 8BitDo controllers work. The retro receivers don't work for me. Could be an isolated incident. I don't want to knock anybody for it. Maybe there was something I did wrong. I did charge my controllers. I did do the firmware stuff, rolling back and rolling back forward, all that kind of stuff. They did not work out of the box for me. I have a different set of retro receivers that I use on my original Super Nintendo and have never had an issue. So don't know what's up with that. The cartridge slot being loose and a little wobbly, and I think other people have pointed that out as well. That's a minor problem for me, but it is still worth noting. The pins, it holds onto the cartridge pins very nicely. Not too tight, but not loose. You could pick the system up, which I'm doing right here, by the cartridge, and it does not feel like it's going to fall out. So it is grabbing onto there nicely, but the cartridge will wobble if you move it. I think it's more so because of how it's cut out to accommodate multiple size cartridges, shapes of cartridges, different regions and whatnot. So that's kind of understandable. It doesn't really bother me so much. Overall, I'm happy with my purchase. A little pricey, but for me, it's where it's at, having that high def, firmware updatable. Don't know what the heck's going to go on with this system, what the future may hold. Hopefully some of these issues can be fixed with these carts that are found to have issues. Maybe certain ones, there's nothing we can do. I've heard too many people having problems with this cart, and this is my first time having a problem. Like I said with Star Fox 2, played through this multiple times on many different systems and no issue. I don't understand what that controller thing is. That's more of something that I've seen in emulators for that game in the past. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. I'm happy. I'm glad. A+, awesome effort, awesome system. The design, just the aesthetics of the clear, people are going to be bothered. Trust me. What can you say? System does its job. Yes, aesthetically the clear is not the best pleasing to the eye. My problem. other people's problems. It does what it's supposed to do, and I'm happy with that. High quality, the audio is awesome, no issues with glitching other than those problems with those carts. So this video is kind of long. Hope you guys appreciate me putting in the time and effort to kind of evaluate this and do the overview. Smash that like button for me if you could. Subscribe, do all that great stuff. Hit that notification bell. If you want to support the channel, hit up Patreon. Link is in the description. And with that said, guys, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out. Boom. Bye-bye.